Okay. Okay, if anybody's camera shy, just letting you know, I'm going to record this, as Bobby mentioned, for the Greenfest page for people that couldn't join us today. Let me share my screen, bring up our slideshow here. You want to kick us off, Bobby?
Absolutely, and that picture is great. Is that from last year's Greenfest or year before?
2 years ago. Last year was a rainy year.
Oh, I know, I remember.
No, excuse me, this was from the rainy year.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like reindeer to me. Yeah.
Well, let me officially welcome everyone to Sierra Club's virtual table. I'm Bobby Safransky, the events director here at Clean Air Council. And again, I'm excited to welcome you to one of many events at the 2020 virtual Greenfest Philly. If you're not familiar with Greenfest, it's the area's largest environmental festival, celebrating all things sustainable for 15 years. Yes, this is our 15th year hosting Greenfest. This year, the event, as no surprise, is entirely virtual with live interactive programming like the one you're at today. And it's scheduled through the Sunday, September 27th. You can see the full list at cleanair.org/Greenfest. And you can also see all the previous things you might have missed at a recap page at the same cleanair.org/Greenfest. Clean Air Council, if you're not familiar with us, we're a member-supported organization working to protect everyone's right to a healthy environment. We have over 8,000 members who bring their passion in the fight for better environmental health protections and are key to our ongoing work to protect public health and ecosystems. And again, you can find out more at cleanair.org. I think with that, I can send it right over to the Sierra Club team and then get started.
So I'll remind everybody that if they have a chance to please mute yourself until you're ready to speak. I don't think that'll be a problem today. We're also used to this. So my name is Jim Wiley. I'm the chair of the Pennsylvania chapter and the Southeast Pennsylvania group for the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club is a national environmental advocacy organization. We are a member-led organization with our 3.8 million members electing volunteer leaders that set priorities, direction, and hire staff to move our objectives forward. The staff includes administrators, organizers, lobbyists, lawyers, and our volunteers are organized at every level, state, local, and national organizing. To be involved. We encourage our volunteers to be involved at all those levels in advocating on issues such as climate change, environmental justice, clean air, water and land preservation, environmental candidate support, and including social inequities not obviously related to environmental issues. But really, there is no environmental justice without racial and social equity. Sierra Club is a 501c nonprofit organization with C3 and C4 branches that we keep separate, meaning that we do lobbying and support candidates, but we don't use tax-deductible donations to do that work. We have 63 chapters across the country. Mostly, the chapter means a state. In Pennsylvania, why can't that change here? In Pennsylvania, we're organized into about 10 groups. And in the southeast of Pennsylvania is the Southeast Pennsylvania Group, very imaginatively named. As you can see, that is comprised of the 5 counties around and including Philadelphia. So what we have here today are volunteers that are going to talk about just some of the initiatives that we've been working on. Oh, I have a nice list here. So this has been, I don't have to tell anybody, but 2020 has been a wacky year. It's been hard to have meetings. It took a while for us to figure that out in the first part of the year. And we have been challenged. Our communities have been challenged with impacts of racism, environmental justice, the pandemic, and the limitations of of social services. Um, we've been advocating for an equitable transition to clean renewable energy. Usually that means focusing on speaking with and elected officials, local elected officials, but certainly they've had other priorities in the first half of this year, but we're getting back to having that conversation again. We've also been tracking and voicing our concerns about local issues like the refinery developments in Philadelphia, PGW's future, the Mariner East pipeline in Chester County, the proposed LNG terminal and the transportation plans that just looks horrible for moving liquid natural gas to that compressor plant on the Delaware. And of course, air quality monitoring, do more of that around the region. And of course, elections matter. We do have volunteers working with supporting candidates that support our issues. With that, I'm going to introduce our volunteers that are going to be in breakout rooms with everyone in just a moment. I'll just name them all off, and then we'll go around. I'll tell you who's going to be in the room, right? So we're going to have a room to talk about outings, which have been tough to do this year, but there has been work on defining what we can do this year and what we'd like to do next year. Environmental justice in locally and nationally. Ready for 100, we have 2 different rooms to talk about Ready for 100% renewable energy transition in the suburbs and in Philadelphia. And then we have plastics, reducing our use of single-use plastics. So let me start with that. Karen, you want to take yourself off mute and just say something so your picture pops up?
Sure. I have been involved with plastics campaigns, both with Sierra Club and with my local food co-op. I'm going to give some brief facts and figures about plastics, and then I hope we can have a good discussion about things we're doing in our own lives to try to reduce our plastic use.
Okay, thank you. Robin and Megan, going to talk about environmental justice.
Well, this is Robin. I think what we'd like to do is frame the overall environmental justice realm, both the emergence of the movement and how the Sierra Club has come to appreciate the need to be engaged on environmental justice issues and how they relate to some of the other challenges faced in communities of color and low-income communities. And then we'll have a local example about Eastwick as a particularly stark example in Philly. You know, Megan, if you have anything else to add.
No, that sounds great. Looking forward to discussing more.
All right. Thank you, Megan and Robin. Meredith, our group outings chair.
Hi, I'm going to talk about our outings program, what it has been in the past, what it is currently, and what it hopefully will be in the near future.
Thank you. And Bill Saby, Ready for 100 Suburbs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Saby in Montgomery County. I've been involved with the Ready for 100 campaign in the suburbs for about 3 years and familiar with what's going on in the other counties. So I'll give an overview on how we work that campaign locally.
Thank you, Bill. And Dave Moscatello and Jeannie Myers for Ready for 100 Philadelphia.
Hi all, Dave Moscatello here. I've been a volunteer with Ready for 100 since the campaign launched several years ago, and I'll be discussing what we've done so far in Philadelphia and how we plan to move forward to make our commitments a reality. All right. So this is the Philadelphia Ready for 100 breakout room. And I'm just going to start this slideshow here. So I'm Dave Moscatello. I'm a resident of West Philly. I've been a member of the Sierra Club for a number of years, and I'm currently a life member. And I'm a volunteer with the Ready for 100 campaign. So in this session, we're going to briefly discuss what is Ready for 100, who is Philly Ready for 100, and what have we done so far, where are we planning to go in the future, and how can you get involved? So Ready for 100 is a national movement or campaign of community residents.
We have, okay,
Sure.
back up.
I'm going to back up.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Hi, Christopher, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. Scotty just beamed me up.
Excellent. Oh, and
we have two, someone else too, good.
like I jumped the gun here starting. And welcome, Benjamin. So I'll back up here and I'll start. I'm Dave Moscatello. I'm a resident of West Philly, Sierra Club life member, and I'm a volunteer with the Ready for 100 campaign. So in this session, we'll briefly go over what is Ready for 100, who is Ready for 100, and what have we done so far, and then what we need to do in the future, and how you or others can get involved. So Ready for 100 is a national movement of community residents across the U.S. to inspire their local leaders to transition their cities to 100% clean, renewable energy in an equitable way. So it's a grassroots campaign working at the local level as opposed to trying to change things on a national or state level. Not that we are trying to do that as well. So Ready for 100 is a campaign of the Sierra Club. It's guided by the Jimenez principles, and you can check these out at the link shown here, www.sierraclub.org/ready-4-100. That's just in case someone doesn't have a screen here. So far across the U.S., over 160 cities have enacted goals to power their communities at some point in the future with 100% clean, renewable energy. So our core campaign areas are, first of all, team building. You've got to have a team to try and move your agenda forward. Movement building, we want to partner with a community and other groups that may have interests in parallel with ours. And then also policy building, developing ideas for legislation and lobbying to make those ideas a reality. So I mentioned an equitable transition, and so we'd like to see that people in the movement ultimately reflect the diversity of the city. So we'd include and take into consideration low-income people, Black, Indigenous, people of color, elderly, labor, and so forth, to make sure that everyone is a part of this transition to 100% renewable energy. And we also want to make sure that communities and neighborhoods that have been most burdened by climate change and by the fossil fuel industry are prioritized when it comes to making policy and program decisions. So there's a couple of images of our group over the last couple of years. The image on the right is from a hearing in City Council chambers where a number of us were there. Many of us were there to testify. Not everyone testifies, but we encourage people to come in and listen to the hearings and so forth. It's our City Council, and we're all welcome to go in there as Philly residents. And the image here on the left is with Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, who was at the time chair of the Environment Committee, and with whom we had worked, with whose office we'd worked in working to get a 100% clean energy commitment by the city of Philadelphia. So here's our timeline here, and you can see that we basically started in January of 2017. By June of 2017, we had gotten Mayor Kenny to sign the Mayors for 100% Clean Energy Pledge. At that time, it was, Philadelphia was around the 100th city to do so, and a lot more have added that. We had a campaign launch party. We held that at the Ethical Society on Rittenhouse Square in September of 2017, and we had a good turnout for that, including people from City Council and from the Office of Sustainability in the city. Then starting then and working throughout 2018, we developed a resolution and an action plan and a growing social media presence to try and get a resolution passed to commit Philadelphia to 100% clean renewable energy. And we succeeded in doing that. Council passed a resolution making those commitments in September of 2019. So what are those commitments? So the 100% resolution commitment made by City Council in Philadelphia is that the city shall take measures to achieve a fair and equitable transition to the use of 100% clean renewable energy for electricity in municipal operations and buildings by 2030. So that means all the city-owned buildings. For electricity citywide by 2035. And for all energy, including heating and transportation citywide by 2050 or sooner if it's achievable. So where are we going from here? So we've got the city should make this commitment, but that resolution establishes these goals, but it doesn't say how we're going to get there. So there's a lot of work to continue to do that. So we're currently focused now on team building. We want, many hands make light work. So the larger our teams, the bigger our capacity we have to influence city politics. And more than just a team, we don't want it to just be a Sierra Club campaign project. We're also working on movement building in terms of partnering with community organizations. I'm particularly looking to partner with community organizations in the vulnerable Philadelphia neighborhoods. And we're currently doing outreach to a number of different groups to help build that movement. And we'll also be, in terms of team building, working on planning an online recruitment event that will probably be in November, the date to be announced in the future. And in the meantime, of course, we'll continue to engage with city leaders as we can under these pandemic limitations. So we meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 13th at 5:30 p.m. That will be via Zoom, just as we're meeting here. Before the pandemic and after the restrictions are finally eliminated and we're back to in-person meetings, it's nice to be able to get together and share some snacks and so forth. And we'll be meeting at the City Coho, which is at 2401 Walnut Street, a cooperative working space where we have meetings. We'll continue on Zoom probably, undoubtedly, for the rest of this year. So as I mentioned, we'll have an online recruitment event for people that are interested in becoming more active sometime in November after the election. And we're going to focus on one of our campaigns, which will be a campaign to reduce the pollution produced from the Philadelphia Gas Works and learn about PGW, or the Philadelphia Gas Works, and how we can build a momentum to transition PGW to a clean energy model in an equitable fashion. We don't want to leave people out. You can find us online and submit a volunteer interest form. You can find that at the website indicated here, readyfor100.org/Philly. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm so old that I'm not even sure what this middle one is. Is that Instagram? Yeah, sure. Instagram there. Let's just, thanks. Put the credits up here for the Slides Mania here and for help from Pratima Agrawal, who put this together. And thank you for your attendance. And now I'd just like to open the room up to any questions or discussion. Anything people would like to know about what we plan to do and how we plan to do it, or?
Yeah, this is Chris Ayers from Cleaner Council. I'm interested in the oil refinery, but before I say anything, this is being recorded. Is it your intention to post this on the internet, or is this just for you privately?
It is the intention to post this on the internet along with all of the other clean air, the Greenfest Zooms. So it'll be on the Clean Air Council site. If that's a problem for you, I can.
That's fine. I just specific questions I can follow up offline. What are the general challenges for environmental justice in Philadelphia?
That's a good question. Although I wasn't really prepared so much. Well, I guess first of all,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. There are a lot of. I mean, it's certainly the case in Philadelphia that a lot of the impacts of say fossil fuel development, say around the refinery and about other kinds of industries, have fallen disproportionately on the poorest neighborhoods within the city, which also happens to tend to be majority minority areas, almost exclusively minority areas. And that was certainly true around the PES refinery. And it's true in other parts of the city as well. So historically, it's certainly been a major issue. And I guess a challenge for us is, speaking as myself as a older white male, is reaching out effectively to the neighborhoods and developing relationships in which we can work effectively together with them to ensure that they don't bear the brunt of adaptations, for example, that we're going to have to make in the future. And the same thing is, we don't want the workers at PGW, for example, to be the only ones who bear the brunt of our transition to clean energy. We want to ensure that as we transition, that we're taking into account that everybody needs a job as they move on and some kind of income. I should note too that if you want to explore the environmental justice issues more, you can join the EJ room in the second half of this event as well. But thanks. Yeah, so there are a lot of questions about how the PES refinery is going to be cleaned up and so forth, and I expect that process is going to be something that we follow for a number of years. One of the reasons I should say that we're going to be talking about the PGW, the Philadelphia Gas Works, in the future is that campaign is going to take a long time. It's not going to be easy because most buildings in Philadelphia are heated by gas. So it's simply going to take time in terms of years to do that transition, which makes it important to start as early as possible so that we can get the ball rolling and make that transition before it's too late.
Christopher, do you live in South Philly, or do you live in close to this area?
I live in Northeast Philadelphia.
Okay.
Belmont, Belmont Village.
There, one of the groups that is been very, very focused on the refinery even before the explosion is Philly Thrive. Maybe you're familiar with that, right?
Yes.
And there was they actually were on the front page of the New York Times Magazine about, I think it was about a month to 2 months ago, with the refinery. So if you can access that article. That was really very informative because there's a lot going on. Several of us are also collaborating with Philly Thrive on some of their projects, because after Hilco bought the site. There's, of course, there's a lot of discussion going on right now of how this is going to be developed.
All right. Well, any other questions?
I wanted to say the Energy Co-op had a webinar earlier today, and they talked about how their renewable gas is being used by PGW, or by us, and we tell PGW we want to use it. And it's coming through with very low increase in cost. So I was really glad to hear that PGW is actually, starting to use some other source other than the gas plants, et cetera, for the sources of their gas. I think that's fantastic. Since I'm a fractivist, I want to get rid of fracking.
Yeah, and in the Northeast, another issue, of course, was the proposed LNG compression plant. Another issue is another area where there's overcapacity. I see actually we're at 1:31, so it should be time to jump back to the next room, unless there are other questions. Are there?
Chris and Benjamin, if you'd like to get put on our mailing list for future meetings, we certainly would take down your email. You could pursue it also, but we could also cross-check it if you wanted to put your emails in chat, and we can add those to the list.
Okay, we'll follow up. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let me share my screen. And let me go back to the beginning. All right, so this is the Philadelphia Ready for 100 virtual Greenfest room. And I'm Dave Moscatello. I'm a West Philadelphia resident, Sierra Club Life member, and a volunteer with the Ready for 100 campaign.
Nice.
So we will talk about in this brief session in the next few minutes, what is Ready for 100? Was Philly Ready for 100, and what have we done so far? And where do we plan to go in the future, and how you can get involved should you decide to. So Ready for 100 is a national movement of community residents across the US to inspire their local leaders to transition their cities or towns to 100% clean renewable energy in an equitable way. So we're a campaign of the Sierra Club across the country. We're guided by the Jimenez principles, and you can find more about those at the Ready for 100 website here, which you can see there. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to access this as well, and you can find this information too on our website. Writing that down? Okay.
Yep.
So, so far over 160 cities have made commitments to power their communities with 100% clean renewable energy across the US. And we have a number of core campaign areas in Ready for 100. Of course, team building, you've got to have a team to try and do a campaign. Movement building, which is also important, trying to partner with community and other groups, because we don't want to try and do this by ourselves. That's not equitable. And policy building, which is also coming up with ideas for legislation and lobbying to make them a reality. When we talk about an equitable transition, we mean that the people in the movement should reflect the diversity of the city. And it should include low income, Black, Indigenous, elderly, labor, and so forth. Everybody needs to be part of this transition. And we want to make sure that communities and neighborhoods that are most burdened by climate change and by fossil fuel industry for pollution are prioritized when it comes to making these policy and program changes. So the people that have suffered the most and will suffer the most in the future should get the most attention. So there's just a couple of images of some of our members of Ready for 100 in Philly. The image on the right is in City Council chambers. We attended a lot of hearings over the years. Many of us testified and others just came to provide moral support. It's also very helpful to come and just sort of listen to the testimony and get an idea of how it is, but that's our council, and there are people, this is how we petition our government for changes. And on the left side here is Ready for 100 group, along with Councilperson Blondell Reynolds Brown, who was the chair of the City Council Environment Committee. And Christine Knapp, who's in the black dress on the right, celebrating the signing of the Clean Energy Resolution. So our timeline here, then, we started this campaign in January of 2017 is when the campaign was launched. By June of 2017, we had gotten Mayor Kenney to sign the Mayors for 100% Clean Energy Pledge. The 100th city at the time to do it, a lot more since then. We launched our campaign at a launch party in September of 2017, which we held at the Ethical Society on Rittenhouse Square. And in addition to a lot of our members, we also had some city council members there and members from the Office of Sustainability, which we're fortunate to have in the city of Philadelphia. Starting from then through all of 2018, we worked on developing a resolution. That was a long haul process, and we learned a lot about how resolutions and legislations get done in city council. Developed an action plan, got more social media presence, did a lot of meetings with council people and their staff. And so by September of 2019, we got city council to pass a Ready for 100 resolution committing the city to 100% clean renewable energy for electricity in municipal operations, that is city-owned buildings, by 2030, for electricity citywide by 2035, and then for all energy, including heating and transportation, by 2050 or sooner. So these are the goals that were in the resolution the City Council passed. So where are we going from now? Well, we've made these goals, the city's made this commitment, but that resolution doesn't say, how do we achieve these goals? So, so the job for the future is to actually get legislation passed that makes this happen. So the first thing we need to do is to build our capacity, team building. So many hands make light work. We're a small core group, and we'd like to get larger, and we'd like to also better reflect the diversity of the city. And right now we're heavily white. We still want more, of course, but you know, we would definitely like to get more members representing the diversity in this city. And to help with that, we're also working on movement building, that is partnering with other organizations, including particularly community organizations in vulnerable neighborhoods, so that we can work together. That means that we're reaching out to them. We'll be going to, when it's possible, physically once again to attend meetings. In the meantime, we attend them virtually so that we can establish relationships. And then, of course, we'll continue to engage with city leaders as the opportunities arise. So Ready for 100 Philly meets the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. So our next meeting is Tuesday, October 13th at 5:30 p.m. That will be on Zoom, just like this meeting is too. And we do maintain space that we can use at a co-working space called the City Coho, which is at 2401 Walnut Street. And ultimately, we hope to be able to meet everyone in person again, hopefully sometime next year, when we can start to have in-person meetings again. So we'll also be having an online recruitment event this fall after the election, tentatively around the middle of November. We will announce that date once it's set for sure. And we're going to discuss in that recruitment event our campaign to stop pollution from Philadelphia Gas Works, or PGWs, gas pollution, and work on how to transition PGW to a clean energy model in an equitable way. If you are interested in joining the movement and so forth, you can find us online and submit a volunteer interest form. That's at the www.readyfor100.org/Philly site, and also, of course, on the main site here, get to our main Southeastern Pennsylvania Group Sierra Club site, and you can find it through that as well. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. And just like to acknowledge that the presentation was from Slides Mania, and our one of our volunteer leaders, Pratima Agrawal, also actually basically created the content for this slide. So thanks very much. I'm going to stop the share here. And do you have any questions or discussion?
Oh, I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Really impressive, Dave. Really amazing work. When I look at those goals, that's, you know, tremendous impact. Ambitious goals, really great.
Thanks. Well, we have to be ambitious, and because we need to really address the climate problem and the pollution problem. And we really do hope to reach out and get a much more representative and much larger team. But we recognize that, you know, it's going to be a long haul. So, you know, making that commitment is sort of the easy part. Passing the actual legislation to make it happen is more challenging. But it can be done, and there's a lot of things that we can do in the short term. A lot of ways to, you know, encourage. And our biggest saving, one thing that we don't often talk about, but I want to emphasize, is that energy efficiency is still the cheapest source of new electricity. And we have a very old, very inefficient housing stock. I had a energy audit on my house, and when they did it, it was like the guy couldn't believe how it was. He said he'd never seen numbers that high. It was like windows were open and so forth. So it was well worth spending. First thing I did in terms of dealing with that was, well, let's stop wasting the electricity. So add insulation, add air sealing, and so forth. And there's a huge opportunity there. So in fact, we will not actually have to replace all of the fossil fuel energy we're currently using. If we improve our energy efficiency, we can use a lot less energy and still be just as comfortable as we were when we were wasting energy, or as my father would say when we had the door open in the AC, what are you trying to heat the whole outdoors or cool everything off outside? That's not going to work. So yeah, and so I'm a big fan of energy efficiency, and also putting my money where my mouth is. So I have solar panels on my roof. But that's a challenge for a lot of other people. And we want to make sure that there are programs to enable, to make sure that there's panels and white roofs all over the city.
Okay, welcome to the my overview of the Ready for 100 program in the suburbs. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to give you an overview of what we're campaign, Ready for 100 campaign is all about, and what we're doing in the suburbs. There's another group that's also talking about what's going on in Philadelphia today, and my contact information is at the bottom if you'd like to reach me after the presentation. So Ready for 100 is a commitment we're asking our municipalities and communities to make to transition to 100% clean renewable energy. And as part of our outreach to each municipality, we're asking them to create a resolution so they make this commitment, and that involves two goals. One is to target to reach 100% clean renewable electricity by 2035. The second is then to reach the rest of your energy usage in heat and transportation by 2050. And also as part of our Sierra Club principles, that we want to make sure that this process is inclusive for everyone, equitable and just and fair, so that everybody's involved in the commitment to make that transition, and no part of our community or population is left out. Everyone is equally heard and involved. So as of this month, we've reached a fairly high goal target. This has been in the works for 3 years, that started in Chester County, but now we have 33 municipalities that have made the commitment. And you can see here by the list and the map colored in green, of course, Philadelphia being the largest green area in the lower right, but you can start to see how the county involvement is starting to take place. Bucks is our most recent county to really get involved, so they're still pretty new to this. You can see it started in Chester County, and they're up to 13 commitments now. Delaware County has 5, and Montgomery County has 12. And we're continuing to outreach to our neighbors and other communities. So we have monthly meetings, and we do as much as we can to reach additional communities and inform them and let them know what we're doing. So as part of the process, after we asked the municipality to make the resolution, part of its text is to say that within the first year after adoption, that you would start working on an energy transition plan. But the other way that the campaign works is that sometimes we reach mayors first, or they stick their hand up and say, hey, I want to make a statement for my town or borough, and they actually get the conversation started. So it's nice when we see mayors step up and make that commitment. Otherwise, we work with the supervisors, councils, or commissioners, usually through an environmental board, which is a citizen-led committee to advise their township or borough on environmental issues. We found that's the easiest way to reach our municipalities. And then because we've got the environmental board members interested in environmental goals, that's best way for them to communicate their township values and goals to their council or supervisors. So part of that then is to kind of make this a comprehensive plan, and to include that in your comprehensive plan if possible. So Pennsylvania, typically the comprehensive plan is updated every number of years. And so if you don't have energy transition goals in your comp plan, that would be a good place to consider adding in your next round of updates. But the main target for the first year is to work on the energy transition plan. And that's our roadmap, the layout of the goals, the values to how we're going to reach our targets in 2035 and 2050. while we do that, we want to make sure we involve everyone that's involved in the community and the municipalities. So we do stakeholder engagement. We'd like to reach out to our institutions, businesses, faith and religious organizations, anyone in our community to help get their input as to the values and goals that they would like to have included in the plan. Part of that is creating a baseline, looking at what the current municipal energy use is, their expenditures, their greenhouse gas inventory, which is a really good resource for that in our area is DVRPC. They have a really good online analysis of our greenhouse gas emissions that they do every 5 years. And that's published on their website. So you can look up your greenhouse gas numbers for your community. And then as part of the transition plan and starting to work on goals, we want to emphasize energy efficiency options. The best adoption of clean energy is not to have to use energy. So the more you can make your systems efficient and use more effective ways of using energy, you can avoid that need to convert it to renewable energy. And then we look at ways that you can bring in local generation. Do you have rooftop or open land, open space that you could put solar panels? A lot of different ideas that we want to include as we develop the energy transition plan. So as part of that effort, we found that in the 3 years that we've been working on this in the region, that a lot of us individually, environmental boards, being volunteers, we didn't have a lot of extra time or capacity, and the townships were so busy that creating the energy transition plan in the first year was a bit of a challenge for many of us. So one of our leaders in Chester County, Paula Klein, was able to get a grant and to develop a clean energy transition planning series of weekly meetings where we learn more about how to create an energy transition plan. And it has a structure that's based on a guidebook from the Department of Energy that we're using as our baseline. And we also have a draft document that we will be filling in for each of our municipalities as we work towards this. So we have 14 sessions. We've been working on this we're about halfway. I think we just had our 7th meeting. And so we're making a lot of progress. We've learned a lot. We're talking about energy efficiency, how to look at energy procurement, electricity purchasing, the contracts you're in, what kind of provider that you're working with, and then how would we start to acquire renewable energy, whether we can put solar in our own municipalities or whether we buy it together in a group purchase program like a power purchase agreement, which is one way that Philadelphia was able to create a 70 megawatt solar farm in Pennsylvania, and they're able to create a lot of renewable electricity for their needs, for their operational needs. We'd like to do that in the suburbs. We need to bring together a lot of municipalities to do that and make a commitment to do that over multiple years. As you can see at the bottom, the 28 municipalities are some additional municipalities that have not actually adopted the resolution, but their values are such that they know they want to move towards renewable energy. So we have quite a few that have been included in this education series that don't quite have the renewable energy commitment yet, but as a resolution, but they will have a draft plan that they can start with, and hopefully then they'll sign on and add on the resolution as part of that outcome. So that's pretty much the majority of what I wanted to share with you. I do have a slide of resources. If you'd like to find out more about each of our counties, I have links for each. And I need to add the Delaware County meeting time, but I believe they meet monthly on the first week. I think it's on a Monday or Tuesday, but I'll get that updated. You can see the other monthly meetings. So if you'd like more information, you can reach me at my contact information. I'll put that first slide back up just so you can see. And then feel free to reach out and we'll share more information about Ready for 100 in the suburbs. We'd love to have you join us and add your community to the planning that we're doing. Thank you.
That's great, Bill. We got a few minutes left. I'll leave first and go back over to the main room. For the record, let me ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
What has been the response here in 2020 by the officials that have, by the municipalities that have made commitments or were thinking about it, and then the pandemic hit, and what has happened and what is happening?
So there has been a little bit of slowdown here, as we've had our municipalities have other challenges here to meet their financial budgets, but we have had a couple communities actually reach out and ask for presentations. Western Oregon is one of our more recent resolution adoptions. I believe one in Bucks County came in since the pandemic, and even Chester County. So we do have continuing interest here in growing this collaboration among all our different municipalities. So as part of our networking, additional communities are looking for presentations and talking to their council. So I think they're waiting a little bit until they get their feet back on the ground as they gain more resources and are able to take a look at new priorities for what they want to do next. The robust or inclusive energy transition planning, each of the communities had to kind of give approval that we could get access to their electric bills. So I think they are very happy that the volunteers are working on this plan for them, and we're looking forward to presenting those plans back to our leadership in the beginning of the new year. So there is still continuing work going on.
So if I live in a township that's not on your list of the 33, but I want to start talking to my township, how can I get you to help me? What's the first thing I should do?
So you have a couple ways. You can reach out to those of us that are in the leadership for each of our counties. You can start with me or reach out to Jim or one of our other leaders. Also, the web pages for each of our counties give you some good resources to start with. I would encourage you to attend a monthly meeting just to come and hear how the other volunteers are working with their communities, because what we found is that the monthly meeting really gives us a great way to share some of the challenges and some of the ideas that we've made progress with. For instance, one of our townships did an energy audit and shared that they had found that even though they had one of those smart energy management systems, that it hadn't been set up properly, and there was actually quite a few adjustments that they could save quite a bit of money over their winter operations. So those types of collaboration, networking really help us grow, and we'd love to have your input to have additional ideas and help you figure out how we can help you get started with your community. There's a lot of good templates that we
Let me add that I was on a Train the Trainers session yesterday, and the National Ready for 100 is about to deploy a brand new interactive toolkit for organizing. It's
Excellent.
kind of all that stuff that you and I, Bill, found on the Info Hub in Google's shared drives. They're making it web-based and it's much more accessible. It's still not debugged. I'm kind of on the debug team. But in October, it's going to be rolled out, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with all the volunteers.
Terrific. Yeah, I look forward to that too, Jim. Thanks.
All right, I think you can stop your recording, but hang out in your room. I'm going to go back to the other.
Thanks for stopping in, Jim.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Let me see if I can see everybody and the screen. Yes. Just before everybody goes on about their day, I just wanted to point you to a couple of resources. Here is our Sierra Club website. Its easy abbreviation is sc.org/PA for Pennsylvania -SPG, Southeastern Pennsylvania Group. So PA-SPG. And then we've got a very short participation follow-up, which I am going to, how do I click this? I have to get out of this and grab this here. And I can put it in the chat. Chat.
You might not be able to see the chat until you stop sharing your screen.
I can do it. There it is. Everybody see that in their chat?
Yep.
And if you wouldn't mind, even our Sierra Club volunteers, please take a minute to fill that out. We'll get some feedback. I will stop the share and ask for questions. Anybody have any questions or suggestions about Sierra Club in general, or anything about Greenfest? Bobby's still here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, is it Robin who is the head of the Environmental Justice Working Group? She was starting to answer a question of mine, and all of a sudden we zoomed out to the main room. Could she finish that?
I can, I don't know if this is the right place for it. I can, why don't we follow up? I'll just put my email address in the chat, and then if you want to get in touch with me, we can talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Christopher, Eric, any questions, any suggestions?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I've got your emails, or Dave got them in your group, and hope to see you at future organizing meetings. Yeah, if there's any suggestions. I stopped in. You guys didn't get to hear the Outings splurge, but we've got that recording, and I'll send it to everybody so that they can catch up on the summaries of what we're doing in those other areas. So I didn't have anything really prepared. Just anybody have any contributions? No? Oh,
That was interesting.
yeah.
Hopefully Greenfest will be the same next year. Back on the street.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Sure beats the rain.
That is true. At least we're dry.
John Butler, I've just unmuted you. You had some feedback when you joined before. Did you want to? I guess you were just listening in.
Bobby, how was registration for this year virtually?
Registration was pretty good. We ended up with a decent number of people that have come to each thing. And the nice thing about it is that we are recording all of these sessions. So they will kind of continue to live on our website, meaning that if you miss the event, you can always catch up and watch it again. So I'm excited to see those numbers kind of keep growing as people share them and see the things that they missed that they were excited about. But it's nothing like the big physical event. You know, you just can't, it's hard to get the same experience as a 10, 15,000 people walking through a festival for a day.
Yeah.
But this has its advantages. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we heard you.
This has its advantages too. I mean, we're specializing on different topics, and you can go back like you're talking about and see and talk to different people and see things that at Greenfest it's kind of hard because there is so much going on. So I don't know how a combination of two things could work, but this was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for
Thank you.
participating.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
Welcome.
everyone.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.